Hello, and welcome back to the Rich Alvarez Show. I'm your host, Rich Alvarez. So you might be thinking to yourself, what the hell is Freestyle Friday? Well, I was looking around the internet trying to come up with a topic for today, but I found that most people today are talking about the topics that I've already covered this week. You know, Avengers Endgame is getting new post-credit scenes. Spider-Man Far From Home is supposed to be the best Spider-Man ever. Toy Story 4 looks amazing. There was one new bit of news, sort of, that could have been my main topic today, and that is that Spider-Man Far From Home has two post-credit scenes, and they are supposed to be like the best post-credit scenes that we've ever seen. And the idea that most of the MCU's post-credit scenes are they're either little just like fun Easter eggy things or they're jokes. Most of them are just kind of jokes. But sometimes you get like a nice tease. Like at the end of the first Avengers, we got Thanos. You know, we saw Thanos' face a little bit for the first time, even though his look changed a little bit over the years. But for the most part, they haven't been super important. I would say that the post-credit scene for Ant-Man and the Wasp, where it, explains, like, how he gets in the quantum realm and everything, that was probably the most important post-credit scene there's ever been. But apparently, the two Spider-Man Far From Home post-credit scenes are the most important post-credit scenes that there has ever been. So that really excites me, and I don't know if that means that they're just really important to Spider-Man, or if they're really important for the MCU as a whole. And we can speculate here, and again, this could have been my main topic, and now that I'm talking about it, that's probably what I should have called the episode. But I wanted to call it Freestyle Friday so that I could kind of just talk about a bunch of topics today, and then we could just cover them all. But I will start with Spider-Man's post-credit scenes and what they could be. First of all, I think that it is entirely possible, since Kevin Feige has said that it is not Endgame, but Spider-Man Far From Home that is technically the end of Phase 3 of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I think one of these post-credit scenes is going to show us a glimpse of the next big bad. You know, who's going to be the next Thanos, if you will. The next huge villain that's going to be the main villain of like an entire phase, or in Thanos' case, the main villain of several phases. Could we see Galactus? Could we see Doctor Doom? Could we see the Green Goblin? I think that Green Goblin could at least be, and that was going to say, one of these post-credit scenes is going to be the main villain of the next couple phases of the MCU, or it's going to be Green Goblin, and he's either going to be the main villain of the MCU going forward, or it's just going to tease that the Green Goblin is finally in the Spider-Man movies, or both. You know, we're getting two, they say we're getting two big post-credit scenes at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. So we could see the next big bad of MCU and the Green Goblin. The Green Goblin doesn't have to be the next big bad of the MCU, but he's certainly pretty either whether it's Harry or Norman Osborn. I would be more excited if it was Norman Osborn. There's really no need to dip into the Harry Osborn Green Goblin again. But if we're going to do Norman Osborn Green Goblin, he could be the main villain going forward for the MCU for at least a couple phases. And then, maybe Galactus after that, who knows? Or maybe at the same time. I don't care. But, I love the Green Goblin. Green Goblin has always been one of my favorite Marvel characters. And I think that even though we saw Norman Osborn Green Goblin in Raimi's first Spider-Man, we saw the Harry Osborn Green Goblin in Spider-Man 3, and then we saw Harry Osborn Green Goblin again in Amazing Spider-Man 2, I just don't think that they've ever done... Like, I love Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin in Spider-Man 1. That's the best the Green Goblin has ever been on screen. So if we could do that, but have him be even more evil, more sinister, more like his comic book counterpart, I would love Green Goblin to be like the main villain going forward. But I'm also very partial to Doctor Doom, and Doctor Doom has never been done right in cinema. But he is a badass in the comics, an evil badass. So yeah, these, again, guys, we're talking about two post-credit scenes for Spider-Man Far From Home that are supposed to be really important. What else could it be that's really important? Maybe if we don't get a tease of the next MCU villain, maybe we just kind of get a little tease of the state of affairs going forward. Like I've said, I think that, since Endgame and in this case, Spider-Man Far From Home, since it takes place a whole 5 years after everything that has come before, I think they might tease another time jump. I think that going forward with Phase 4, which would be, you know, everything including Spider-Man 3, whatever the third Spider-Man is going to be after Far From Home, and all the other MCU movies going forward, I think it would be interesting if they did like another 5 or 10 year time jump. So that way, by the time we get to the third Tom Holland Spider-Man movie, he's already like working at the Daily Bugle and stuff. And that would allow, and again, I've said this before, I said this in my Endgame review thing too, it would allow us to see characters like Tony Stark's daughter, you know, training to become, you know, the next Iron Man or Iron Woman, and, you know, yada, 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 you know, we'd see, you know, characters evolve and, you know, kind of grow into their, you know, their new roles. You know, we know that we're getting Disney Plus shows like Winter Soldier and Falcon, so it's possible that let's just say that after Spider-Man Far From Home there is another 5-year time jump, but within those 5 years, that's when all the Disney Plus shows take place. So Winter Soldier and Falcon, WandaVision, and the Loki series, those could all take place in my theoretical 5-year time gap, and then when we get to the rest of Phase 4, those movies take place after the live-action Disney Plus shows. That's just my theory right now. But I think that what's going to happen, well, what we do know is going to happen on the Winter Soldier and Falcon show is that, you know, Falcon has Captain America's shield that Steve Rogers gave him at the end of Endgame, but he's still going to go by Falcon because he doesn't feel like he has earned the title of Captain America yet. But by the end of the miniseries, he is going to adopt the Captain America role and title. So my theory is that that show's going to cover that, and then after the time jump that I think is going to happen, the next time we see Falcon in a movie, he'll already be Captain America. That's just one example. I think all of the characters are going to go through a major evolution. So yeah, again, I'm 6 minutes into this and I'm only still talking about the Spider-Man post-credit scenes, so damn it, I should have just made those the topic, because no one searching for the post-credits is going to look at Freestyle Friday, so I may retitle this after I post it. So if you're watching this later and it's called Spider-Man 2 has post-credit scenes that are awesome, or whatever I title this, and you're confused why I've been talking this whole time, then, well, this is why, because this video was originally called Freestyle Friday. Whatever. Anyways, so what do you guys think? What are these two post-credit scenes in Spider-Man Far From Home that are supposed to be more important than any post-credit scenes we've ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe so far? Do you think they're going to introduce the next major MCU villain? Do you think it's going to talk about characters? Is Tony Stark coming back to life? I hope not. I love Tony Stark, but again, as I've said before, bringing him back from the dead completely diminishes his sacrifice at the end of Endgame. But if you think that that's what they're going to reveal, then go ahead and say it anyway. Has Nick Fury been a Skrull this whole time? Or has Nick Fury been a Skrull, just the Nick Fury we see in this movie? Or maybe he's Chameleon. That's been a thing I've seen pop up today. Nick Fury, the real Nick Fury was killed at some point, and this Nick Fury in Spider-Man Far From Home is the Chameleon. Ooh, maybe that's a thing that happens in this movie. I know that there's at least one major plot twist that happens during the movie, so maybe that's what that is. But we do know that some crazy stuff happens in these two post-credit scenes. I saw another theory today that said that Mysterio was Peter Parker from another universe, but that just, you know, we just saw Into the Spider-Verse a few months ago, so maybe people are just kind of remembering that and thinking they're going to incorporate that stuff. Well, we do know it's official. We do know for a fact that Mysterio is from another dimension. But I don't think he's Peter Parker, because if he is supposed to be Peter Parker, then that's bad. I love Jake Gyllenhaal, by the way, and I think he's perfectly cast as Mysterio. But if he's supposed to be Peter Parker, then that's bad casting, because I don't think Jake Gyllenhaal looks anything like Tom Holland, unless you say that, oh, okay, this universe's Peter Parker looks different than this one's. I don't know. But I really do hope that Mysterio is not Peter Parker from another dimension. I just want Mysterio to be from another dimension. Anyways, in the spirit of what this was originally supposed to be, I'm going to talk about some other stuff really quickly. So, Toy Story 4, supposed to be amazing. You know, perfect movie. Can't wait to see. I still haven't seen it yet. Child's Play, the Child's Play remake has gotten kind of mediocre reviews. A lot of reviewers I respect have been kind of giving it 7 out of 10s, and a lot of it has to do with the way that they do the story, which is kind of what I predicted. I still plan on seeing the movie, but you know, they did take all the supernatural elements out of it. Like, I love the original story of Charles Lee Ray, who uses possession and voodoo to put his soul into the doll. Like, the fact that in the original movie that the doll is a person's soul in there. That's what made it scary to me. I just don't see Alexa, an AI walking around is very scary. So I can see why the movie was disappointing for some people. Spider-Man Far From Home, again, is supposed to be just the best Spider-Man movie ever made. So we'll see about that. I cannot wait to see this movie, guys. And of course, if you missed my talks this week, then I'll just reiterate again that Avengers this weekend is adding 2 post-credit scenes to its movie. So if you have never seen Avengers Endgame, now's the time to go, because 2 new post-credit scenes are being added to the end of the movie. And if you have already seen Avengers Endgame, well, then you'll have to go see it again to see the new post-credit scenes that are being added to the end of the movie. Not to be confused with the 2 most important post-credit scenes that are happening at the end of Spider-Man Far From Home. And with all of that, we're going to be moving on to live chat. Here's the super chat, the same as the super chat's been all week. $2, I'll do any fun voice and say any line you want me to say. $5, I'll tell you something of my choice about my past, a fun story from my past. $10, I will sing the chorus of any song. And $20, you choose tomorrow's topic. But since it's Friday, you choose Monday's topic. That's how we'll do it. Alright, Supremacy Mecha Hunter was first today. Karasu Lover is here. Hello, Karasu Lover. He says, hey, Rich, hello. Or she. I can't remember if Karasu Lover is a boy or a girl, so I apologize for assuming your gender. You can let me know in the comments. Silver Armored Wolf. Hey, I still wanted to know why you didn't use Mario power-ups in Super Mario Bros. Regardless of paying effects artists. Well, I mean, that's the real thing. I don't really, like, in our old Stupid Mario Brothers show, I really only wanted to try to do things that I knew we could do. Like, I knew that I could animate fireballs and all that, so the Fire Flower was a thing. But, we didn't attempt a lot. It was only, like, a little bit later that we did, like, we did those offshoot movies where I became, like, the Squirrel Mario, or I became Cat Mario. It's like, just like once we had decided to acquire or make those costumes. But, I didn't want to bog that, like, Stupid Mario Brothers wasn't about, like, doing a bunch of power-ups, Well, some of it was. But, it wasn't supposed to be that all the time. EDMG7 says, well, I really like all the hype for Far From Home. Or I really hope all the hype for Far From Home isn't for nothing. I guarantee you that that movie, I trust too many of the people talking about it favorably to not think that we're going in for an amazing movie. Supremacy Mech Hunter says, hey Richie, do you like a movie that was bad? Like, do I like a movie that most people thought was bad? I know that's hard to say. I like movies. Sometimes I find humor in bad movies sometimes. Like, everybody knows The Room with Tommy Wiseau. Don't worry about it. Ha ha. Like, that movie's a bad movie, but I enjoy it because it's so dumb and bad, and I laugh at it. So I guess, I hope that answers your question. Ada Batista says, Ada Chicanota. I think that might be Spanish, but I don't know Spanish. iJosh64 says, I would like to see Doom. If they do him right, that'll be lovely. Yeah, Dr. Doom. But they have yet to do him right so far. Silver Armored Wolf says, they already did Goblin and Doom. Yes, but they haven't done them great. Well, Goblin was good as Willem Dafoe, but they haven't done Goblin in the MCU yet. That's what really counts. iJosh64 says, however, it's possible the Bug Bad won't show up, or Big Bad, I think he means. Hopefully they will, though. Yeah, he says Big Bad, correct himself. Supremacy Mechaner says, the Doom first-person scene is an example when filmmaking is amazing at its finest. Supremacy Mechhunter then says, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was the first Spider-Man movie that made you feel that you were watching a Spider-Man movie due to the feel and Spider-Man outfit. That's very interesting, because I couldn't disagree more, because Amazing Spider-Man 2 is unapologetically the worst of the Spider-Man movies overall. But again, everybody's entitled to their own opinion, but Amazing Spider-Man 2 was atrocious. Silver Armored Wolf says, Kingpin never did show up in the movies, and he had robo-spiders. Well, again, because Kingpin is part of the... he's considered more of a Daredevil character than a Spider-Man character. They weren't able to use him for a long time because for a long time 20th Century Fox had the film rights to Daredevil, and Marvel just reacquired the rights to Daredevil a few years ago, and that's how they were able to make the Daredevil TV show, and why Kingpin was finally allowed to be in, like, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So, Kingpin should show up in a Spider-Man movie. That'd be awesome. Some rumors says Venom Carnage clash with Spider Boy. I do want Venom and Carnage, especially Carnage in Spider-Man movies, but like it's really confusing now because Tom Holland has his Venom movie, which isn't technically connected to the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies, at least according to Sony. So are they going to I don't know. So I don't know if they'll put Venom in a Spider-Man movie now that Tom Holland is Spider-Man. Tom Hardy's Venom. That's not connected, so I don't think they'd put Venom in it. And if they did put Venom in, then they would recast him with a different actor, and then that would just get really confusing. Overall, Sony just shouldn't have made a standalone Venom movie, but whatever. Let's see here. EDMG7 says, never done right in cinema, ? You don't think his portrayal in the masterpiece that is Fan4stick was perfect? I'm chuckling as I type. So he's being sarcastic, of course, because Fan4stick, or the 2015 Fantastic Four movie, was terrible. Let's see here. Yeah, Sperms Bunker says, Tobey Maguire was Peter, Andrew Garfield was... Wow, I lost my spot. All of a sudden I got like a ton of comments. It caught. Okay. Tobey Maguire was Peter, Andrew Garfield was Spider-Man, but Tom Holland is both. I've heard that before, but I actually, I don't know. I think that Tobey Maguire was pretty good as both in his own way. But like, I don't know. Andrew Garfield, I just recently watched a YouTuber who did a whole thing about Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. I used to think Andrew Garfield Spider-Man was okay, and then I watched this movie about how cynical his Spider-Man is, and now I don't really care for Andrew Garfield as Peter Parker or Spider-Man. But I do think Tom Holland is perfect as both. Let's see here. La 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 la. I'm just trying to get to relevant questions. Silver Armored Wolf says the Spider-Man games took after the movies. I guess for the most part they kind of try to go for a similar feel and look. Then Supremacy Meganer says J.K. Simmons needs to return to play J. Jonah Jameson. He is the best J. Jonah Jameson. I love J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, but I feel like his inclusion would they would be like, well, I don't think they want to use J.K. Simmons because that would inadvertently connect it to the Raimi films, and I don't think they want it to. And that's kind of a big reason why I think they've kind of left the character of Jameson out of the movies since the Raimi trilogy, because J.K. Simmons did it so well, and they don't want to replace him. So just a thought. EDMG7 says, I expect the second scene is Rich and Matt's secret project. Stupid Mario is joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe. No, unfortunately, me and Matt are not connected to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but I will get to Matt's project after I'm done reading all your comments. Anthony A says, Toy Story 4 is out in memory of Don Rickles. Yes, Toy Story 4 is out. I have not had a chance to see it yet. Hopefully be seeing it sometime this weekend. Hope a Man's Mention says, hi Rich, how you doing? I'm doing pretty good, thank you. Silver Elmo Wolf says, Toy Story 4 is going to suck. The Toy Story ended. It didn't need more. It's not going to suck. It has a perfect score. Its score is actually higher than Toy Story 3's. Toy Story 3 is my favorite Toy Story movie, but Silver Armored Wolf, oh, it's hard to say fast. Toy Story 4, well, at least Toy Story 4 is I'll make my own opinion about it when I see it, but it's supposed to be the bee's knees. EDMG7 said, oh, he's just replying to Silverworth. Hockey Song is here, and he says, what are the chances that Sony just gives up and gives Spider-Man rights back to Marvel? There's not a chance at all, because Sony makes a ton of money off of Spider-Man. They even take a certain percentage off of the Avengers movies that Spider-Man appears in as part of the trade. Then Armored Wolf says, the whole freaking movie just for 2 stingers, nothing in the middle, just to stay at the top and get more money. I'm not sure if you're referring to the new ones in Avengers or the 2 that we're going to get at the end of Spider-Man, but I don't know. I'll sit through anything for 10 minutes of good content. Spermsy Mechaner says, is Jax there? Also, how is everyone doing from the Revolver's crew? Revolver's crew is doing good. Jax is actually out of the house right now. DD Production says, hey, how's it going, DD Production? Karasu Lover says, she, lol. And hey, long time no talk. Hello, Karasu, I'm so sorry about that. It's been a long time, and, my mind gets frazzled. But it's good to see you. Brad Shireen is here. He says, Wario, listen closely, because this is the last time you'll see leaked footage of the script, referring to a blooper. Let's see, looking for more relevant questions. Paul Onofre is here. Hello, Paul Onofre. Says Marvel offered the movie rights to their characters to Sony, but Sony purchased the rights to Spider-Man because they believe Spider-Man would be the only good character people would care about. Yeah, back in like the late 80s, when Marvel was going bankrupt, there was a time before Disney owned Marvel, back in the 80s when Marvel was going bankrupt, that they started selling off the film rights to their characters. And yeah, I know that they tried to make a big old deal with Sony, but Sony only bought Spider-Man, and that's why they ended up selling X-Men, Fantastic Four, Daredevil, and a bunch of other stuff to 20th Century Fox until they could get some financing back. Unfortunately, once Marvel Studios became a thing, those movie studios still held on to their rights, but they've been able to get most of those characters back. Really, the only major Marvel character that Disney doesn't own now is Spider-Man, and characters associated with Spider-Man like Venom, etc. Let's see here. Silver Armored Wolf says, I failed to see how Fox bought parts of Marvel's characters. Well, I just explained it. It was because they were going bankrupt and they sold the film rights. Remember, film rights are not the character rights. Like, Marvel Comics will always have access to all of the characters they've always created, but film rights are different, and they sell wholesale characters to movie houses for, an undisclosed amount of money. I think they sold the X-Men to Fox back in, 92 for $20 million or something like that. And so that means that Fox has the rights. But now Disney owns Marvel and Fox, so Marvel gets to use the X-Men and Fantastic Four again, and anything else that Fox may have still owned, like Deadpool, etc. But Sony owns the rights, the film rights. It's a very important distinction. Sony owns the film rights to Spider-Man. And unless I'm mistaken, Sony owns the video game rights to Spider-Man too, and that's why Spider-Man games are published and owned by Sony, and usually only exclusive on PlayStation consoles. So Sony owns a big chunk of Spider-Man. And, it's only through the awesome power of talk between Kevin Feige and not Bob Iger. Well, Bob Iger was involved too, but the chairman of Sony, that Spider-Man was able to cross over in the MCU and all that. Supremacy Mike Under says, after seeing Mario vs. Batman, I have a theory that John Marston is actually Elwood interacting with Chris's character, who is pretending to be Luigi. No, that's not what's going on there. Again, that was just a joke in that old video. That Brad Shireen says, not sure if you have seen the rumors that Deadpool could possibly see Ryan Reynolds' Deadpool in end credit scene. What are your thoughts? I think Kevin Feige said that they are probably going to do Deadpool movies. I don't know if they'll still be rated R under the Disney banner, but also he said that he doesn't think they'll really be connected to the MCU, but they'll kind of exist in their own universe, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. Marty Man is here. Hello, Marty Man. He says hi. Hello. And he says, can you please refer what the past super chat is? I might consider donating that amount. So the past is you super chat $5, and then I choose something from my past to talk about. I know, I'm thinking I gotta probably change that one because I could see how that wouldn't sound very interesting, but it's like, I've got several stories from like middle school and high school, and I thought it would be interesting if you guys wanted to have like fun little tidbits about my past, then I'd be willing to share for the super chat. So if that at all sounds good to you, I have a fun story about something that happened to me in drama class my sophomore year of high school. If that sounds interesting at all. But anyways, let's keep talking about movies. Hockey Song says, will they ever announce that Rian Johnson is no longer working on his trilogy? I don't know if he is not working on that trilogy. So yeah, they should announce something for that soon, hopefully. Karasu Lover says, she's talking to Marty Man. Blaze Gamer says, what's up, Richie? Hello, Blaze Gamer. Haven't seen you in the chat today, so welcome. Supremacy Mech Hunter says, A New Hope gave that famous Stormtrooper head bump, as boop. Marty Man says, there is so many people I talk to, and so I remember you or not. What is past? I explained what past is. Silver Armored Wolf says, and Deadpool only had the Colossus dude and Nova Girl or whatever. Yeah, and that was because 20th Century Fox was cheap. But now under Disney, who knows what's going to happen? Let's see. EDMG7 says, Honest Trailers talked about this in their latest commentary. The rights to Marvel films were sold to movie studios in an attempt to sell more toys. That's why Iron Man started the MCU. Cool toys, yeah. That's for the most part how some of it happened. Marty Man says, keep chatting, because I need to think what to say in a $5 super chat. I just don't know what it's referring to. And then Secret Heritage says, yo, I remember you from Pondo. Don't mind me. Just gonna pop in and have a listen. Hello, Secret Heritage. Who were you at Ponderosa High School? That's very interesting. I hardly ever get anyone from high school, and I was just saying how I might talk about something from high school. How interesting. Carrie Sue Lover is talking to Marty Man. And then Silver Armored Wolf says, why does this recording style look outdated on an old computer camera? Maybe because I have the square thing. Let me go back to Solo. I mean, this is a 1080 webcam. I think the reason why it might look crappy is because I don't have enough lighting here, so I need to set up like a second light. It does look a little fuzzier than it usually does. That's very interesting. I'm going to look into that, but not right now. Spermsmonger says, hey, Richie, someone doesn't understand something here. I don't know what you're referring to. So Marty Man did the $5, and I did clarify at the beginning that I would choose what I'm going to talk about in the past. But since Marty Man didn't understand that, I will probably just answer his question. Let's see what it is. He says, how did Stupid Mario Brothers start? 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 Well, it started when Chris and I'm just going to answer this one. It started when Chris and I I would say that we got some overalls because in 2006, we wanted to dress as Mario and Luigi for a Halloween party. And so that ended up being because now you can go to any Halloween store basically and get a cheap Mario and Luigi costume. Back in 2006, they didn't really make official Mario and Luigi costumes. So we bought overalls and we got actually two white long sleeve shirts, and we dyed those shirts red and green because we couldn't find long sleeve red and green shirts. And then we got white utility gloves, which is what we had always been using for the most part for those characters. The real trick was the hats. We found some white corduroy hats that we really liked, but they were kind of off-white. So the trick with the hats is I had to bleach them white before I could dye them red and green. And then I used felt to make the M and the L. And all of that was for a Halloween party. It wasn't until over a year later that we were talking about those costumes, and we didn't even use those costumes for Halloween 2007. They were just our Halloween costumes from 2006. So it was even after Halloween 2007 that I was talking to Chris and Matt, and they were even like, what you want to make? Because we were like doing like, I don't know, Monster Mower or some other YouTube thing. And I think it was either Chris or Matt or both of them that were like, we should reuse those Mario costumes and make a sketch out of it. And I remember I didn't really want to, and I can't remember why. But then I did come up with a script that I didn't like. And then, we filmed the thing. We eventually got Matt a costume to be Wario, of course. And, again, we weren't able to find the exact same hat that we used for Mario and Luigi, and that's why the Wario hat looks a little bit different. And that's why I've never been able to actually properly replace the Mario and Luigi hats, is because I can't find those exact hats. And so we all got together and we filmed the first episode of what was supposed to be Teenage Mario Bros, which is why they don't have mustaches. And then once I edited the thing and I didn't like... guys, it's not a secret to most fans. I didn't like and still don't like the very first episode of Stupid Mario Brothers. And so when I edited it, I told Chris, I'm not going to call this Teenage Mario Brothers because there's not really a whole lot in there besides not having mustaches that feels like Teenage Mario Bros. It just seems like it's Mario Bros, but stupid. So I'm going to call it Stupid Mario Brothers. And he was like, all right. Called it Stupid Mario Brothers. Changed my life. What do you know? Anyway, so Marty Man, there's your how did Stupid Mario Brothers start story. And then, of course, the video got tons of views and we made sequels. Alright, Supremacy Mech, beginning back on track to Marvel, Spiderman, and everything else. Supremacy Mech Hunter says, is like the studio couldn't accord another X-Men, especially Fantastic Four? I don't understand that question. Silver Armored Wolf says, have you tried any DC Marvel games? What do you think of them? I think my favorite Marvel games are probably the Marvel vs. Capcom games. And DC has had a bad track record for games. I think the really good ones are made by third parties like Rocksteady, like the Batman Arkham Asylum games. I love those games. EDMG says, wow, someone other than me made the joke of Stupid Mario Brothers starting. Let's see here. Spermity Mike Under says, Richie, I saw you before in a gameplay stream of Overwatch, but I was a viewer before. Yeah, I used to have a show right here on YouTube called Rich Plays Overwatch. I had the same thing on Twitch. It lasted for several months, and then it didn't really like get a lot of attention or views. So I just figured, meh, I wasn't also the best at Overwatch. But yeah, I had several episodes. I mean, again, I think this just kind of comes down to the subscriber thing not working. You know, people always talk about the algorithms not working and that your sub box isn't working. Like, somebody in the chat here the other day asked me when I was going to make a sketch again. And I was like, what are you talking about? I make sketch comedy at least once a month, sometimes twice a month. Like, did you guys not see the Wizard Pokemon Addiction video I posted last weekend? That was a fun sketch. They're called Rich Alvarez Shorts. Look them up. We post them here. Your sub box just might be broken. Let's see here. Trying to not get too much into... Oh, okay, cool. Secret Heritage is Kevin's friend. How's it going? Let's see here. Silver Armo says, how long did you have to wait for your facial hair to grow back to film again and dye it? My facial hair grows pretty fast. You may remember on like the third or fourth, I actually don't remember, when I started the Rich Alvarez show a couple months ago, and then at some point I accidentally, when I was shaving like the inside of my cheeks here, I accidentally went too far and shaved the strap here off. And so I just shaved all of this and just kind of kept this like I used to have a couple years ago, but the straps grew back like within a couple weeks. So right now I think my entire beard is actually a little too bushy, so I have to trim it down. I just didn't feel like doing it today. But by Monday this will all be cleaned up and a little bit shorter and more trim and a little bit more professional looking. Marty Man says, I just couldn't think of what to say in terms of past, so I decided to ask the most popular question that you've been asked a lot. You should make a documentary about it. I mean, we kind of do. There's a video called The Making of Stupid Mario Brothers that we made forever ago that kind of talks about, it actually talks a lot about how I edited it back when I was, way back during Season 1 when I was using Pinnacle Studios to edit. And of course, everything is now, I use Adobe After Effects, Adobe Premiere, everything's Adobe now, but it used to be Pinnacle back when I was an idiot. Silver Emerald says, I still have that group photo from Stupid Mario Brothers. Awesome. Alright guys, I think that's going to do it for me today. We're over 30 minutes. This is one of the longer episodes of the show. Thank you guys so much for... Oh wait, I forgot about Mass Project! Shoot! As many of you probably already left because I said goodbye already. Damn it. Well, I will mention this. Matt Provincial had a really cool idea for a video. Of course, he lives on the East Coast, but we're trying to figure out a way to get him over here to do this video. He came up with a really cool idea that I turned into a really cool script. So there's a really cool script. It is, I don't want to say too much about it right now, but it is a medieval fantasy. So like, think Game of Thrones. It is, at least right now, it's just a single, it's going to be like one 20 to 30 minute video, but it's a medieval fantasy that Matt came up with the basic idea, and then I wrote the script for. Matt is posting a video like today, unless he already posted. He's posting a video about it today, and he posted a video about it a couple weeks ago, but he's posting another video today on his YouTube channel. I think his YouTube channel is just called Matt Provincial. And it talks about our medieval fantasy that we're trying to work on. So he'll have a link to the Kickstarter in his video. So go check out Matt's channel. And then maybe next week I'll have, after I get a chance to go into his Kickstarter and clean up his Kickstarter for him a little bit with more goals and everything, I will post a link to his Kickstarter in the description of these videos starting next week. And if you are interested at all in seeing me and Matt make a medieval fantasy, then that's going to be a thing very soon, hopefully. But you know, it's Matt's project, and he really wants it to be good. So unlike Elwood, where I don't reach my goal and I make it anyway, this is going to be one of those things where we have to meet the goal in order for it to get made, because a medieval fantasy is going to be way too expensive to make unless we have funding. So you can check out Matt's video about that either right now or later today when he posts that, and I will have more info for you guys about it next week. Anyways, please give this video a like, subscribe, follow us on Facebook.com/RMAProd. We're doing things on there all the time. And that's about it. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. I'm Rich Alvarez. Bye-bye.